Welcome back to another episode where we continue to look at the Thor. This time, let's take a look at the step sequencer. So we have a standard sawtooth wave hooked up to a low pass filter. Basically, very similar to what we did when we reset the device. And nothing fancy hooked up. So if we play notes, it sounds like this. So in the step sequencer, we have this UI down here, which allows us to basically control how notes are played using a step sequencer. So we have a run button and a mode of the run button. So we have repeat, one shot, and step. So step, what that means is it increments this the active note once every time you press the run button. One shot means it will play to the end and stop. So every time you press the run button, it plays once. Repeat, I think, is the more useful one, where it just constantly repeats. Alright. But obviously that doesn't sound too good. So what we got to do is we got to edit the velocity. So over here we have all these things we can edit. We can edit the note, the velocity, the gate length, step duration, and a couple curves. So let's look at what that means. So if we edit the note, we have this octave adjuster. So we can set the range to be 2 octaves, 4 octaves, or full. So let's set it to like 4, for example, to really hear it. And let's run it. Okay, so now we got an interesting pattern going on. And all this is doing is triggering MIDI notes. I'm not touching the piano, the keyboard. And this is still running through our oscillator, of course. So we can still make adjustments. So it's just firing notes at these values. We can adjust the number of steps down using this knob right here. So if we just want 4, we can do that. We can turn on and off notes like that. Okay. Then we can change the velocity of each of the notes. So they're currently at 100. If we had some velocity mix going on, we could say what the velocity is. Change the gate duration, gate length. Step duration. So instead of each of these taking 1 unit at a time, we can tell this one to take 4 units at a time. See how it pauses there. We can take this one all the way down to 1/4 time. So it kind of sounds nuts. If we hold Control and Shift and click, then it will reset these guys back to normal. Alright. So then we have a couple other patterns. We can do reverse over here, which now it's playing backwards. We can do pendulum, which means it goes forward, backwards, playing the last and first note, I think twice. So it extra pauses on the first and last. And we have pendulum 2, which basically doesn't do that. It just hits that last and first note and then walks back immediately. We have a rate, so we can slow this thing, speed it up, or slow it down. And then we have random, which basically plays a random set selection. Then we have curve 1 and curve 2, which can be used to, let me turn this off. Curve 1 and curve 2 they can be used to use in the routing UI over here. So let's modify these curves a bit. Something random like this. All right, now we have curve 1 defined. Then we can say step sequencer curve 1 amount 100 changes oscillator 1's pitch. Let's see what that sounds like. Let's go to forward. So you can set up all kinds of things like this. The other interesting thing you can do is you can turn off what is a note. So you can, by default, MIDI, this is MIDI notes, as well as a step sequencer are on. So if I'm playing the step sequencer, those are triggering MIDI notes. But you can hit this button and then it turns off the step sequencer to trigger notes. So now when I run this thing, it's not making any sound, but it is altering the curve of the pitch. So I'm basically using the step sequencer as a modulation source for this oscillator. So now when I play notes, as you can see there, the step sequencer is messing with my pitch, or whatever I really route it to, which is kind of neat. That's basically the look at the step sequencer. It's not too complicated. You get up to 16 steps, all the way down to 1. You can turn on and off notes. You can set a bunch of things about the notes. You can set how fast it is, how it plays, forward, back, and reverse, and you pretty much want it on repeat as far as I can tell. And you can reset it. That's a pretty good look. Next time we'll look at some routing stuff. So we have a bunch of routing information here and here, and we'll take a look at some of the other interesting things that we didn't mention before in the source and destination routing possibilities. The things that are not obvious. All right, see you next time.